What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next I've got a $1,500 or so unboxing. It's one book, but then I'm also going to talk about the undervalued Silver Age Batman keys, because there's been a lot of talk obviously lately about Marvel over the last 6 months, but I've also been hearing some rumblings that DC is undervalued. So I thought I would look at those books and see which ones might be good to pick up right now. So stay tuned. Alright, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So I've got one book in here. This is a DC Silver Age key, which is why I decided I would talk about which ones look undervalued to me. It's one of my favorite books. You may have seen me show this book before, talk about this book before. But like I said, I'm going to open this book, show this book, and then I've got 10 DC Silver Age Batman books. And I looked at all of them, what their prices are, where they've been, where they are now, and found some that I think are good candidates to pick up right now, and other ones maybe you want to wait on. Maybe they've gotten a little pricey. So there's been a lot of talk, obviously, over the last 8 months or so about Marvel books. Marvel books have been spiking like crazy, and they've also, in some cases, come down a fair amount from those peak prices. And one thing I've heard over that time period has been that DC is undervalued. And I think people always say DC is undervalued, and it seems like it always stays undervalued. But I said DC is undervalued, and so I thought I would take a look at the DC keys for Batman in the Silver Age, since he tends to be really one of the most popular DC characters, the one that actually you might see some moves in prices. And so I picked out what I thought were the 10 biggest Silver Age Batman keys. And if there's some that I forgot, I mean, I only have so much time for these these videos, so I got 10 of them. And I looked at what the prices are now versus where they were a year ago, where they've peaked within the last year, just to kind of see what ones might be undervalued, good to pick up right now, as well as which ones maybe you want to steer clear of, some that have moved up a lot recently. So, you can see this one it's packaged really well. It was in that FedEx box and then had newspaper around it. This book I picked up from a seller that I've mentioned quite a few times, and so I do have people ask me where I buy books from, all that kind of thing. And I can't give away every place that I buy books from, but this is one that I've mentioned before. This is Super World Comics. They're on Instagram. I've obviously bought from them a number of times because I've mentioned them in quite a few videos. But this was actually a slab. Most of the time when I'm buying from them, I'm picking up raw books. But this was a slab. I felt a great price. I made an offer, so he dropped his price a little bit, and they're having a sale right now on their books. And so let's take a look at this one. It looks great. Like I mentioned, this is one of my favorite Silver Age books, and also just in general one of my favorite covers. And this is Detective Comics number 359, and it's in a 5.5, and this book has just been going through the roof lately. It has gone up quite a bit, and I will definitely talk about this book on this list. But you know, like I said, so it's a 5.5. It's a nice looking copy. No big creases or anything. You've got this little bit of damage down in the corner there, and then just some general spine wear, that kind of thing. But this is a book that I do really like, and the reason I was pretty happy to pick this one up was that I have a few other copies of this book. So I have 3 copies of this book as well, in addition to the slab. One of them, this one is a little bit lower grade. This one I actually have for sale, but the other two, these two, one of them I actually bought from Super World as well. Another one I bought on YouTube, or not on YouTube, on eBay quite a while ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And I think that they're both around a 5.5 as well, and I'm gonna send them in to get graded. And so I'm kind of hoping maybe one of them comes back a 6, and if so, then I would have, I'd keep the highest graded copy. But since this one was already a 5.5, it gets me that grade that I was expecting with one of these, and then I can send those in and just see what happens with them. But but yeah, you know, obviously I think it's a cool book. I think it's a great book to buy. It's one of, in my opinion, one of the best Silver Age Batman keys. Awesome cover, you know, the purple cover. I love this kind of like halo effect that they've got around Batgirl. I think it's just a really unique effect for the Silver Age. And it's just a book that looks real nice when it doesn't have any real big creases or anything like that on it. So with that, I'm going to talk about 10 Batman keys from the Silver Age, and then at the end, I'll do a comparison of all of them and see which ones really look like they're the undervalued books right now that are maybe worth looking into, see if you can pick up those books, as well as the ones that have gone up quite a bit. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is Detective Comics number 359. So, like I mentioned, this is the first appearance of Barbara Gordon as Batgirl. She is not the first Batgirl, so this is just the first appearance of Barbara Gordon as Batgirl. The grade that I looked at was a CGC 4.5. Most common grade is a 4.0, but a 4.5 had a more recent sale. The price a year ago on this book was about $600. The record was from November 13th, so very recently, about a week ago, was $1,298. So that was a big jump from a prior sale. So I have the current price at about $1,250. This is up 116% from this time last year. So this book is really at its peak right now. So if I was going to say, is this book undervalued? No. This is definitely a book that has gone up quite a bit. Not necessarily a book that's undervalued, that if you bought it right now, you could expect it to keep running up. But like I mentioned with that book, I felt like I got it for a great price, and so that's why I picked it up. So it's not always the most undervalued book that I'm buying. I'm also looking for a book that I think is a good deal. All right, so that's book number 1. Now for book number 2, this is Detective Comics number 230. And this is the first Silver Age appearance of the Mad Hatter. The first appearance of the Mad Hatter is actually in Batman 49 back in the Golden Age, but this is kind of a different version of the Mad Hatter. But this is a tough book to get. This is early Silver Age. This is 1956, basically the first year of the Silver Age. Doesn't come up all that often, doesn't sell all that often. The grade I looked at was a CGC 5.0 because there was a sale recently in September. Price a year ago, there actually wasn't a sale of this book, but I looked at other books that sold around it. But in 2019, there was a sale at $650, and a 4.0 sold for $700 in 2020. And so I estimated this book at a 5.0 a year ago at about $850. The record was on September 18th, was $2,000. So I've got the current price of this book in a 5.0 at $2,000, which is up 135% from this time last year. Again, another book that is at its peak. Maybe a tough time to pick up that book. If you find one that's at a discount to fair market value, maybe try to go for it. But again, this book is up a lot, especially for a DC book, one that we don't really have any news or anything for that character. So I would be hesitant about picking up copies of this book right now. All right, now number 3. This is Detective Comics number 233. Just 3 issues later, so still very early Silver Age. Tough book to find. Now this is the first appearance of Kathy Kane as Batwoman, and I don't see this book come up for sale hardly ever. I've seen it maybe 3 or 4 times in the last year and a half, and the grade I looked at, its most recent sale, was a CGC 4.5. Now the price a year ago in this book was $2,000. The record was $2,750 from just October 23rd, so very recently. So I've got the current price, again, $2,750, up 38%. So it's not up all that much, but it is at its peak right now, and it's not really a character that I see having a lot of potential right now. It's possible they could use a character like that, but it seems like Batgirl is a more popular character in the DC universe. So yeah, it's not up all that much, but it is a very expensive book and a tough book to come by. All right, now number 4, and I actually just talked about this book in my last top 10 video. I was talking about a 7.5 that sold that didn't look like it was a 7.5, and I would have been very nervous if I was the person that had purchased that book. But this is Detective Comics number 298. And this is the first Silver Age appearance of Clayface. His first appearance is actually in Detective Comics number 40, which is also the first cover appearance of Joker. But the grade I looked at was a CGC 7.0 because there had been a very recent sale for that book. price a year ago was about $700. The record was $900 on February 23rd, and its current price is about $840. So it's up 20% from this time last year, down 7% from its high. This is one I would definitely be looking at. I mean, you've got a pretty big Silver Age key. You've got a character that a lot of people like, especially if you grew up around the time that I did, watching the Batman cartoon. Clayface was always just a cool character. And so this one is hardly up at all. When I'm talking about those other books that some of them are up 100 or more percent, this one only up 20%, down from its high. It's a tough book to come by. I don't see it sell all that often, but this is one that I would definitely be looking for. If you come across this book, it seems like it's around fair market value, seems like a good book to pick up. All right, now number 5. This is a cool book. I really like this one. I'm moving out of Detective Comics now. I'm moving over into Batman, and this is Batman number 121. And this is the first appearance of Mr. Freeze, or as he's called in this issue, Mr. Zero. Now, one of the really great things about this character is that this is his actual first appearance. It's not a character where you have a first appearance in the Golden Age, and then this is their first appearance in the Silver Age. This is his actual first appearance. Now, the grade I looked at was a CGC 4.5. This is an expensive book. It's an in-demand book. It is a tough book to get in anything out of very low grades. The price a year ago for a 4.5 was $2,000. The record was $2,800 from October 26th, so very recently. So I've got that current price at $2,800. It's up 40% from last year. It is at its peak. It's not up all that much. The tough thing with Mr. Freeze is, I've talked about this with a few other people, and the question is, how are they going to use that character if they decide to use him in some type of DC universe movie, in a show, something like that, because his storyline always seems to be the same, and so they need to come up with something, a different angle with that character. But it is up only, and I say only 40%, but it's already a very expensive book, so not necessarily the easiest book for someone to pick up if they want to buy in on that character. Now, number 6 is Batman number 139. Now, this is actually the first Batgirl. This is the original Batgirl before Barbara Gordon. This is Betty Kane, who's actually Kathy's niece, who I mentioned was the first Batwoman. Now, the grade I looked at was a CGC 4.5. The price a year ago for this book was $425. The record was $695 back in March of this year. Its current price is about $600. So it's up 41% from its high, down about 14% from its peak. So this does look like a book that might have potential to pick up. However, it's not one that I necessarily see them using. I see the Barbara Gordon version of Batgirl being the one that more people are interested in, more people like that cover. And so while this one does appear to be potentially a good buy, I think Detective Comics 359 outshines that one, and so I don't really expect to see a lot of movement in this book moving forward. Right, now number 7. This is Batman number 155. Now this is the first Silver Age appearance of the Penguin. He does have his first appearance in Detective Comics back in the Golden Age. But the grade I looked at was a CGC 4.0. Price a year ago for this book was $325. The record was from June 15th, was $600, and its current price is just $500. So this book, up only 54% from this time last year, down 17% from its peak, and this is one of the main characters in the upcoming Batman movie. It's also been rumored that we're going to have either some type of show or specific movie that expands on that character, on Penguin. And so I think this book is a very good book to pick up. I actually just purchased one about a week ago. It's not here yet, but I think that this is a great book to look for. It's kind of a cool cover. You've got the Penguin on there with a big dragon, and I think those Batman dragon covers are always kind of fun, especially when you've got a first appearance in the book. All right, now number 8. This is Batman number 171. This is the first Silver Age appearance of the Riddler, and so again, something where you've got the first appearance back in the Golden Age, but this is his first Silver Age appearance. It is a cool cover. I've always really liked this pink cover. I think it's really unique, especially for the Silver Age. Now, the grade I looked at was a CGC 4.5. Price a year ago was $500. The record was $872 on November 7th. and its current price is about $850. So it's up 74% from where it was a year ago. It's right around its peak. This one's tough because this is the main villain that's in the next Batman movie, but this is a situation where I could see this being a one-time use of that villain. Whereas with the Penguin, it seems like they're planning additional movies or stories around that character. That is not a given with the Riddler. And so this one is up a lot. Could it go up a little more? Definitely. I could definitely see this going up more leading into the movie. It's also just a great book to have if you are a Batman collector. So that's generally the case with all of these. All of these are big Batman keys. If you're a Batman collector, you're probably going to want to own most of these books, if not all of them. But the question is now the time to buy it? And I would say probably not. Now, I do already have a copy of this book, but if I was going to buy one right now at fair market value, I would probably be waiting until after the movie comes out. If I found one that was at a great price, at a discount to fair market value, that's a different story. But at the current fair market value prices, I'd probably steer clear of this book. All right, now number 9, and you have seen me open this book a number of times. I have a bunch of copies of it. This is Batman number 181. This is the first appearance of Poison Ivy. The grade I looked at for this was also a CGC 4.5. Now the price a year ago was $475. The record from October 17th, so only about a month ago, was $1,200. And it's been jumping all over the place over the last few months, anywhere from $870 to $1,200. And so I've got the price right now at $1,050. And at that price, it is up 120% from this time last year, down 12% from its high. But if you look at the most recent low sale, that was $870, down 28% from its high. Now, I think that person had a great buy on that book. I think that was a great price, but buying it at its fair market value or higher right now, and this is, I'm selling those books. I do sell those books, and so I'm not doing myself any favors talking about them like this, but just trying to be straightforward when I'm looking at these, and I wouldn't personally be buying this book at fair market value right now. Again, if you can find the book at a discount, go for it. If you want to add it to your collection, you don't really care about what it's doing moving forward, go for it. But if you're looking for a book to buy and then resell because of some event or something like that, maybe steer clear of this one for now. See if the prices relax a little bit, because the only thing I can really see that's been driving this book up is Harley Quinn. It's the tie that this character has to Harley Quinn, and you've got the cartoon where that's brought a lot of attention, I think, to Poison Ivy as well, but there's not really anything else to me that I see that's a driving force behind that character. And so I would just be a little hesitant with it being up over 100% right now, picking up copies of that book at fair market value. All right, and now here is number 10, and then we'll look at all these next to each other. We'll do a comparison of these books. And this is Batman number 189. Now, this is the first Silver Age appearance of the Scarecrow. And if you're wondering what his first appearance was, it was in World's Finest Comics number 3, which I happen to have a copy of. And so this is one of the restored books that I own. It's a book that I felt was, one, a good price at the restored price. Also, just in general, a tough book to come across. It gets very expensive, especially because it's a first appearance. The biggest downside of this book is just the cover is, it's one of these campy covers, and that's what I've mentioned before. It's not the type of cover I really like. But it is the first appearance of a major Batman villain from the Golden Age, from 1941. But his first appearance in the Silver Age, much better cover. He's right there on the cover, and I feel like this book has just been really cheap for a long time. And the grade that I looked at was a CGC 5.0. Price a year ago was $250 for a 5.0. The record on April 19th of this year was $540. Current price is about $450. So this one is up 80% from last year, down 17% from its peak. This is another one that I would definitely be keeping an eye on because, one, it's got a lower buy-in point. It's definitely a cheaper book compared to these other ones, so more people can afford it. It's a major Batman villain, a character that was done very well in the prior Batman series, and so it's just a little bit more well-known character, maybe, just at least in the mainstream because of that. It's up less than 100%, down 17% from that high. Like I said, I think it's a great cover, and so this is another one that I would be looking for. All right, so now I'm going to put all these books together up on a chart up next to me so we can see a comparison of them. And you can see I have highlighted 3 of these books that I think are good ones to go after right now if you're looking for a book at fair market value. Now, it changes the story if you find a book that is under fair market value, it's a discount, then do whatever you want. If you think that book's a good deal, pick up that book. That's like what I did with that graded copy of Tech 359. Felt like it was a great deal, so I bought it, even though on this chart here you can see it's only had 2 other books go up more than it, and that's Detective Comics 230 and Batman number 181. So it has gone up quite a bit, but I felt like it was a great price. Now, if I'm just looking at books that are at fair market value, comparing them to other keys, Silver Age keys for Batman, the 3 that I think look like good buys right now are Detective Comics 298, which is that first Silver Age appearance of Clayface. That is one I'd be going after, up only 20%, the lowest of any book on this list. And so that seems like an outlier to me, especially when it's a character that I think is popular, could be used potentially in the future, and so that's what I'd be looking for. The next one, Batman number 189, just talked about that. One big driver behind this is just it's a pretty affordable book. It's the least expensive of the ones that I looked at on this list, so that's a case where you have more people that can afford the book. It's also got a great first appearance cover. I think it's a cool cover, and it is up 80%. That's not nothing. I mean, that is quite a bit, especially for a DC book, but it's down 17% from that peak, so it is one that I would also be looking at. Now, the number 1 book that I would be looking for is Batman number 155. This one, to me, really jumped out from all the others, and the reason is that it actually has a character that there are plans to continue using in the future, also a character that has been highlighted in the recent Batman movie. They've shown a lot of scenes with that character, and it's up only 54%, one of the lower performers on this list, and down 17% from that high. And so that's the book that, if you asked me out of any of the Batman Silver Age keys, which book would I be going after right now, Batman number 155 is the book I would be going after. I think that one is a great deal at its current valuation and has a lot of potential moving forward. Alright, so I hope you found this video interesting. If you're looking for Batman keys, hopefully this maybe helps you pick out a book or 2 that you might want to go after, gives you an idea about what prices are right now in a lot of these different keys. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. I've got more videos over here if you'd like to watch some of my other videos, and the subscription button right here if you'd like to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.